Hello and welcome to In the Picture, your source for movie review, discussion, and recommendation. My name is Preston Fosbeck, and joining me today, as always, are awesome Shane Jones.
What's up, nerds?
And Miles Cardan.
Hello, everyone.
Today we're going to be reviewing a film no one has heard of, I don't think. Small indie film. It's called Avengers Infinity War, and it's only made about $630 million over the weekend worldwide, about $250 million domestically. And we're not even going to give you a synopsis of this one because if you haven't heard of it, I can't help you. What are you doing? I don't know. So this film was pretty hyped, you guys. Were you guys hyped going into it?
Nah, not at all, dude. It's not like I've been waiting for this movie my entire life or anything.
Your entire life?
Ever since I've known about Marvel, I've been waiting for this movie. I just didn't know it.
Wow, okay. That's a good answer.
For me, I've always enjoyed all the Marvel films, but they haven't always been at the top of my, wish list, I guess you could say, is what I'm looking forward to go seeing. But I was very well aware of everything that was leading up to this. You have 18 movies over 10 years, and it's all building up to this moment, this accumulation of all these things, and I have many friends who are big comic book geeks, and I know they were just, couldn't be more excited for this. And so there was a lot for this movie to live up to. And I guess we'll talk about here soon whether it did or not.
I don't know. I missed the hype for this movie. I heard a lot more hype about Black Panther than this for some reason. I don't know. I just hang out with people who don't care as much about the Avengers or something. This one kind of, because it's an Avengers movie, there are a lot of threads that are kind of being woven into a single film. This is the 19th Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. So what films do you think people should see before they go into Infinity War?
All of them.
All 18. No getting around it.
All right.
Well, I'd say the absolute essentials would definitely be, I feel like, the last couple that came out, Black Panther and
Thor Ragnarok.
Yep. And Civil War, Captain America Civil War definitely sets up the stage for kind of how, well, it's called Civil War. So maybe I'm not spoiling it.
It's fragmentation in superheroes?
Yeah, why they're not all together and nice with each other. And
Doctor Strange is a big enough character in this movie to say you should probably watch
Doctor
that.
Strange.
Big time.
So extra credit would be like Doctor Strange and Guardians 2, probably. Because I never saw Doctor Strange, and I mean, you get to see him in Civil War a little bit, in Thor 3. Or not Civil War, right?
No,
right.
Just Thor.
Just Thor 3, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
And,
but definitely the more that you see, the better. Just having that whole experience of starting from the beginning and going all the way up to this, I think adds a lot to the viewing experience.
Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend. But
so start with Iron Man.
What? Hulk. Start with the Hulk.
Hulk was after Iron Man, bro.
Yeah,
No.
dude.
What?
It was Iron
Because
Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2.
Iron Man comes into the end credits tag.
The Hulk reboot, because that was the second Hulk.
Yeah, we're not talking about that first one with the Hulk dogs and fighting a lightning cloud thing.
I'm just curious, when was the last time you guys saw Iron Man 1?
I watch all of the movies at least once a year in a row. Like I do a big marathon, so
I saw it
probably
like
sooner than you.
I saw it a few months ago, and I gotta say, Tony Stark's facial hair in that movie has not aged well.
No.
It is a film of its time, definitely. And I found it to be somewhat slow compared to the movies that are coming out these days. They're so hyper funny and whatnot. I don't know. So if you can stand it, go back to Iron Man and work your way up through all 19 of these movies. Awesome. So let's go to kind of initial non-spoiler thoughts, and then we'll move into our spoiler review / breakdown. Shane, what did you think about this film in general?
Oh, man. Going through this entire movie, I was literally shaking throughout. I don't know if it was because I was just excited or what, but pretty much seeing all these things, all these people meet each other for the first time and having all these interactions that I didn't think I'd ever be able to see on the big screen was just crazy to me. And it all worked perfect. There's such a good balance between humor and serious tones and darkness and stuff like that that works so well. Anytime you like needed a breath because somebody died or something like that, they always threw some humor at you that was like,
spoiler,
all right, let's
people
get through.
die.
Oh yeah, sorry if you didn't know.
Dave. It was Dave. It's a minor side character.
Yeah, just Dave.
Nobody important.
One of the red shirts.
Yeah, some dude walking through New York. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that pleased me as a big comic book nerd. Things that, like I said, I wouldn't think I'd ever see on the big screen. And then the biggest thing for me, though, was Thanos. That was my biggest worry. I thought if there was anything that could kill this movie, it'd be all this hype for Thanos, and then he sucks like a good chunk of the Marvel villains. And oh man, he was so good.
Okay, Miles.
Yeah, I feel like this was a big risk for the studio. Like just from my personal perspective, like there were big hyped tentpole films like Jurassic World and Force Awakens that didn't necessarily fully live up to the hype that was presented before it. So it's not an easy thing to get right when you've got this amount of anticipation building up to something that people have been waiting so long for. But I was so happy with this movie, and I totally believe that it met that hype and probably even exceeded it, for some people, I would imagine. Like Shane was saying, like a lot of this hinged on how well Thanos was done. And my first impression of Thanos when he popped up at the end of which movie was it? Was it Guardians? The first Guardians?
Like his first cameo?
Yeah.
That was the Avengers.
Avengers? Okay. I just like, this guy looks stupid.
Yeah.
It's like this CGI purple dude with the weird looking chin. But he is a legitimate threat in this movie, and he's just played brilliantly by Josh Brolin, and I think he's the strongest villain that Marvel has introduced so far. Like the best, just all around the best villain they've presented on screen to us, and that's kind of like the Dark Knight. Everyone's like, the hero's only is going to be as good as the villain, or it's a villain that makes the hero, and that's completely true in this case. And like you said, there's also added emotional weight to this movie, and all these shocking twists and turns. That it's just a roller coaster ride from start to finish, and I think it's gonna continue to ride this opening weekend wave, and word of mouth is gonna keep it going and going and going, and this is gonna be like the biggest movie ever to date.
Well then, tough talk from Miles here.
You actually think it's gonna beat Avatar?
The biggest movie to date.
It's gonna be close.
Yeah. I think it'll beat Titanic, but Avatar, I don't know.
Okay, so I was probably the least hyped person for this ever. I don't really care about the Marvel Universe at this point. I don't know. I have superhero fatigue. So the only reason I was kind of looking forward to this movie is because I thought, and this is not a spoiler, I won't tell you if this actually happens, but going into it, I heard that Captain America was going to die. And I thought, I heard that Chris Evans said after his last role as Captain America, he is quitting acting. And I just wanted to go see Chris Evans in his last movie. So I guess you'll find out if that is true in the spoiler section. But that was really the only reason I was looking forward to it. But I gotta say, this movie, if it doesn't live up to the hype for you, I don't know what kind of person you are. Like, this is gonna live up to the hype for like 95% of people, except those 5% who are just really stingy, I guess, with their compliments. I don't know. Pacing's really good. This has the perfect amount of humor in it for a movie. I think Thor 3, way too many jokes. I got so exhausted from all those jokes in Thor 3. This movie just does it perfectly. It was entertaining as entertaining can be. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. So there are a lot of different ways you can see this movie right now in the theater. There's IMAX, there's IMAX 3D, there's regular 3D, standard 3D. What format do you think people should go see this in, guys, if they should go see it? And then let's get our ratings.
Oh yeah, my first showing was with you, Preston. That was an IMAX. Wasn't real IMAX, but it was IMAX.
Limax.
Yeah. And that was IMAX. Anyways, I saw it the following day that wasn't. It was just a regular standard showing, and I think it made quite a big difference. I don't know, it just the sound and everything, the picture, all of it just seemed less from the IMAX showing to me. And I don't think that's just because it was my second showing, because I actually enjoyed it more my second time. But yeah, definitely go see it in IMAX is what I say.
I think if you're definitely like hardcore, like comic book, this is my jam, there's nothing else in the world that exists, like this is it, then yeah, you'll want to treat yourself to the biggest screen, biggest sound system possible. However, I sat just on a 2D screen in a crappy theater down the street, and I had a blast. There's nothing underwhelming about anything that I saw. Obviously not all theaters are created equal, so I mean, yeah, treat yourself. But if you're just kind of going in this more casual, I don't really see any point in spending the extra money, for the premium ticket. You'll enjoy it, I think, just as much on a smaller screen as you would an IMAX screen.
Yeah, I'd say standard is fine, but if you can afford it, go for the IMAX. Don't bother with the 3D. It's not real. It's post-converted.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Gross.
All right. Ratings? Shane, what do you give this movie?
Oof. I didn't even think about that.
It's going to be high.
Yeah, it's tough for me to put this into ratings because it was so satisfying on all levels to me. It's tough to say there was anything wrong with it. There's just one or two things that I didn't like, but oh man, I don't know. 9 out of 10. I don't know. I loved it so much. It's probably one of my favorite movie theater experiences since I saw Return of the King.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think this movie delivered on everything that it promised. And I think there's so few people that are going to walk away disappointed just because everything that Marvel does good, this did perfect, I think. So it also gets a solid 9 out of 10 from me.
All right. 9 out of 10 from Miles. And I imagined I was going to give this about a 7 before I went and saw it, but I'm going to give it an 8. I really enjoyed this movie. But, I'm not a big superhero or Marvel fan. So there you go. Go see it. Go see it in 2D, in IMAX if you can, or not. And that does it for our non-spoiler review. We are now going to move into our spoiler review / discussion. Shane is going to break us down every single major scene of this movie, and we're just going to discuss. So if you want to hear some of that, you can stay tuned.
Pause it, go grab a snack, take a nap before. It's going to get long, I guess.
Go see this. Why are you, if you haven't seen it, go see it, please. And then join us for our spoiler discussion. Here we go. Spoiler alert starting now.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Dumbledore dies.
No! God damn it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So first of all, that beginning where the Marvel logo comes in, it's silent.
That's where we're gonna start.
No, that's where I knew shit was getting real, because the Marvel logo came on and it was silent instead of the fanfare and all of that, and then you just hear in the background all the panic. I don't know.
Let's try to keep this under an hour.
Okay, so the beginning, Thanos comes in. It starts minutes after that post-credit scene in Thor Ragnarok where they run into Thanos' ship. You see him for the first time. You see old Squidward for the first time, and the Hulk gets beat down, and a couple people die.
Who dies?
So I mean, first of all, what I want to say most about this beginning is that Hulk beatdown. I thought that was amazing. I mean, what better way to show how strong Thanos is for than to just throw Hulk right at him from the beginning, and he just gets destroyed, to the point where we don't see Hulk for the rest of the movie.
Like he actually, like Hulk goes into hiding.
Yeah, he's
like,
terrified.
Literally,
He's
he
got
won't.
PTSD.
He won't come out because like the Hulk has been the Avengers like ace up their sleeves. Him and Thor, and they're the two that are present. Like
Yeah.
they're the two, save for I guess Vision, but nobody cares about him. But like from the very beginning, Hulk and Thor, and then Thanos comes and just deals with them both, and Loki, who is like the main antagonist of the first Avengers film.
Then there's that awesome throwback to that line, "We have a Hulk," and then Hulk just comes out. I love that part.
How did you think about Loki's death? Like, was it
Okay,
did it work?
yeah, I knew going into this movie. I told everybody, I was like, Loki's gonna die at the beginning of this movie. But man, just like actually seeing it happen, and it was pretty brutal too. Like the second Thanos grabbed his neck, he's like squirming around, like clawing at it and everything. I was like, whoa, man, is this actually happening? Is Loki gonna die for the 15th time?
Yeah,
And for real?
I really felt helped like set the tone, and you really felt like there were going to be legitimate stakes to this, and that like this was going to be different than what we had seen before.
Yeah, and I guess Thanos just finished killing Heimdall too. So, like, we lost two kind of big characters, Loki more than Heimdall, but
It's a
man,
character that was always kind of underserved. I thought I always want to see more of.
yeah,
And now he's gone.
yeah,
Which one, Loki or the other guy?
Heimdall,
Okay.
Idris Elba.
Yeah. I don't know his character's name.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean that beginning instantly like set the tone for this movie. Like you knew the stakes were going to be high and it was going to be pretty dark, and Thanos was coming. There's going to be tough to stop him. Is there anything else we have to say about the beginning?
I didn't care for the opening, but that's just me.
What?
I felt it dragged, but whatever.
Just like, I guess was there anything particular that didn't work for you then, or just?
It just seemed to. I don't know. It's just like,
Wasn't a very-
yes,
it wasn't
the
a very-
mustache twirling villain is here, and he's monologuing, and he's not killing the people he could easily just kill and save himself so much time later. I don't know.
Well, no, you do get his motives later on, and they kind of explain why he doesn't just indiscriminately kill.
They do? Why is that? I'm sorry to ask, but
I mean, he doesn't want to just kill everybody. He wants to bring balance by killing half of everybody. So
see,
some
this
kind
is
of
what
twisted
makes no sense to me here. Okay, this reality gauntlet or infinity gauntlet or whatever can just control reality, right? So if your thing is that, the world doesn't have enough, or the universe doesn't have enough resources to support everybody, why not just double the amount of resources rather than kill half the people? I don't understand this at all. This is very Star Trek 2009.
I mean, that's kind of the big difference between a hero and a villain there.
But this villain is just an idiot. It's like, who the hell thinks this is a good idea? I don't get it. It's like,
Does he have the power to create things though?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know the full power of it, but I would say he does from like the comics perspective, but I don't know.
why can't he make people just half as hungry? I don't get it. But continue.
I don't know. It may have just been an excuse to kill people for all we know. He's a big baddie. He isn't going to just go and do a hero-like thing by bringing everybody food and all of this stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wish that could have been written a little bit better, I guess. But you're working from source material that you can't change, so whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so after so then who Thor, or not Thor,
Hulk.
or what's his name?
Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner. Thank you. Gets beamed back to Earth, and we see Doctor Strange, who's only had one movie under his belt, as far as the audience.
1.25.
Yeah, I guess Civil War. But
Thor 3.
Thor Ragnarok.
What?
Ragnarok.
He's not in Civil War. Thor 3.
Remember, he's the one who shows.
That's why Thor knows to send Bruce Banner to Doctor Strange's house.
Thor and Loki go to him, and he shows him where Odin's dad, or where Odin is, or before they meet Hela.
He is not in Civil War, bro.
Not in Civil War at all.
Was
We don't
I-
even know
I
who
just-
Doctor Strange
I don't
is. in
even-
You
Civil
guys
War.
just corrected me on this like 5 minutes ago. What happened? Get with it,
I'm
Miles.
sorry, guys.
All right, everybody. Brief Thor Ragnarok spoilers. Thor Ragnarok spoilers here to catch Miles up.
Hold on, it's getting hot in here. I need to shed some clothing.
Thor and Loki come to Earth and they're like, "Where's my dad, Odin?" And they don't know because that little retirement home thing's getting destroyed. And Doctor Strange takes him to his little house and he's like, "I know where your dad is." After like he's messing with Thor, like teleporting him from room to room to room. And then he sends him to that Ireland place. Remember? You don't remember that at all?
I've totally forgotten it.
Wow.
Well, that's okay. We'll move on.
But the point I was going to make, however, though, was that, you have like all these characters that were established way earlier on, like Thor and Iron Man, and I was kind of surprised at how focused on Doctor Strange they were for this movie and how important he was to the plot and helping the group. So that was
When you
just,
got one of those gems, the plot just finds you.
Well, Doctor Strange being my favorite superhero, he is very important, okay? So, I guess we get to that New York attack scene with where Doctor Strange and Tony Stark and Bruce Banner and everybody meets together there. What'd you guys think of that?
I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I didn't know why Thanos didn't just go there immediately, but I guess he had other things he was working on. So
Yeah, he's trying to
Send
find that
his,
soul stone.
sent his ambassador, Squidward.
Yeah.
So I'd like to. My only gripe about introducing, I guess Squidward is what we've officially dubbed him
Ebony Ma.
in this movie, was that we didn't get to see him like in another movie as the villain, because if Thanos wasn't the villain and we just had this guy and it was just another, Marvel entry, I would have loved it. Like, I thought this guy was great. He went head to head with multiple Avengers and held his own. And then he was also kind of like on the side, this like religious, zealot, this right hand man of Thanos, preaching to the populations that they were slaughtering and conquering. And I just thought it was a really cool dynamic, just his lazy drawl that he spoke with, and his arrogance. I just thought made him a great villain.
Yeah, and that just eerie way he'd walk past everybody who's dying. He's like, "You should all be fortunate you're dying by the hands of Thanos." Stuff like that. I love that. All of that. The biggest thing I took away from that New York attack is right at the beginning where like the Doctor Strange's mansion's all shaking and you hear all the craziness going on outside. They do that like shaky cam thing where they're going out into the streets, and it totally gave me like that, like, I don't know, this may be a big connection here, but it totally like reminded me of all the footage from like 9/11 and stuff like that, where everybody's like running through the streets and
Yeah.
chaos is going on
There's definitely that vibe.
with like the shaky cam and all that. It was, and then you see Squidward and the big Hulk dude, and they go into a crazy fight sequence, which is awesome. Spider-Man gets introduced then too.
Yeah, New York has a bad time in this movie.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like, like, I think it was partly just like a lot of the hype and so like just the expectations playing into it that helped me feel this way. But just like when that started happening, I was like, oh no, like this is it. Like something big's going to happen. This is the start of all. There's no going back from whatever we're getting ourselves into right now. Just kind of this foreboding, sense that was kind of present the entire time.
Next, we get into where the Guardians of the Galaxy are flying through space, and they come across Thor and the wreckage of the ship, and we see kind of the first Avenger Guardians encounter there. Then we get that awesome scene where Star-Lord's like trying to be Thor. He's like deepening in his voice and stuff like that. That's where the humor kind of starts to kick in there. Yeah. What did you think of that?
I enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy in this movie. I thought they did a good job. Especially Drax had some really good moments.
Even though you didn't know who Mantis was, because
I
Guardians.
did not know who Mantis was, but I found her incredibly likable, I must say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Not much for me to say about this. I just found the whole thing solid.
All right. Yeah, and then that's where Guardians kind of split up. Rocket and Groot go with Thor, and everybody else goes off somewhere else.
I love the thing with the eye, how the setup, because that was because don't we see him take the eye?
Oh yeah, in the first Guardians movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's had it this whole time, and then just connecting those dots, and it's like, oh, we're gonna have Thor lose his eye, and then oh, guess who has an eye? It's
Yeah.
So just
Do you see the Rocket steal that eye in the film?
In the first movie.
No way. That's cool.
So that was just, I thought, even if it was just kind of a happy accident they stumbled into, and wasn't something they'd planned, early on, like regardless, like that was just a great detail that you really helped, like feel like these were all connected, and like, everything was kind of planned from the beginning. Just little details like that I thought were great.
Oh, also, if you're a fan of Arrested Development, you can find a... oh, no, wait. Nope, too early. Never mind.
Oh. Well, I mean, we could just get to that part, right, where they're in nowhere, where half of the Guardians of the Galaxy stumble upon Thanos for the first time, and you think he's about to get the Reality Stone from the Collector, and Gamora falls into that trap there.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool, the way they... you find out it's actually a simulation, kind of. It was nice. It was like a little episode of Rick and Morty thrown in there.
Yeah.
And yes, you can see Tobias Funke, if you're a fan of Arrested Development, sitting in a pod somewhere in that scene, which I missed, but I hear it's there.
Yeah, and then it goes into that great scene where Star-Lord has to make that decision of whether or not to kill Gamora right there. And then, of course, Thanos doesn't let him. And that goes into one of my favorite lines of dialogue there, where he's just like, I like you, before he goes through the portal. It's like, oh, yeah. It's just little things like that is what made Thanos really cool to me. Anything else to say about that scene? Did you think Drax and Mantis actually died there when he turned them into the blocks in the thing? I was like, what the hell? Did they just kill him?
Yeah, I was surprised that they came back from that.
Yeah.
I didn't really get
too, I thought.
why.
Yeah, that surprised me a lot. I was really kind of hoping that Drax would get that kind of Thanos fight they've been teasing there in that scene, but hopefully we'll get that in the next movie.
Don't they kind of have it on the planet at the end, though?
Yeah, kind of, but from what they were kind of hinting at, there's supposed to be some big Drax Thanos fight, because Thanos is pretty much the reason why Drax's family is dead and all of that stuff. But
Okay.
Thanos is the reason why a lot of people have different things taken from them. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Which goes into kind of the final scene of the first act there, which is that Scarlet Witch and Vision attack scene there in Europe, where we come across Scarlet Witch and Vision for the first time, and they go into this romance that they've been hinting at, but apparently it's just now in full effect. And Scarlet Witch is so in love that she forgets about her Russian accent. That was kind of
Yeah, I was really wondering about that.
Yeah.
Vision has that effect on people.
Yeah.
Have we seen him look human before?
No.
Okay, because I was like, when the hell did this happen?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just part of the stone thing there.
Gotcha.
Making him look human.
So on all the security cameras, he looks like a red person, but when you're standing next to him, I guess.
Yeah. So, man, did you guys notice that one scene where Vision was fighting the dude with the swords? I don't know what that guy's name is. And Scarlet Witch is fighting the other chick. And anyways, Vision's beam gets cut into multiple pieces and starts cutting everything in half, but they cut that car in half, which lightens up that fight scene between Scarlet Witch and that other character. I don't know. That scene was amazing to me.
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. So then we get to the grand entrance of Captain America. He comes in and saves them, and as well as Black Widow and Falcon.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. Like it definitely got. I think that was like the first big cheer out of my audience.
Ours too.
It's because the filmmakers knew that was going to be a big moment, and so like it's kind of like all the fighting stops, and everyone's like looking like something's coming,
Mm-hmm.
and then we see who it is, and we're like, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, they don't even really take a hit there. They just kick both those people's ass right there. It was like, damn, it was awesome.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Anything else before we move into the next part?
Just keep it moving.
All right. Moving on, I guess we could talk a little bit about the Soul Stone. We finally figure out where the location to that is, and we get characters come back that we didn't really expect. Well, I expected because of it was spoiled to me.
By Forbes.
Yeah. Stupid Forbes magazine released their spoiler review before the movie even came out. So I was looking through the comments of something, and the first sentence was, Red Skull helps Thanos find the Soul Stone. I'm like, what the fuck?
That when he revealed himself, that was another audience moment where it was like people just like gasped. They're like, what?
Yeah, got a cheer out of our audience too.
Yeah, we all kind of speculated that Red Skull was out there somewhere, but I didn't think he'd ever return.
It's funny. It's funny because I remember the first time I saw the Avengers, like at the end where they show Thanos, I had no idea who that was, and I went with a friend to the screening, and I was like, "Who was that at the end there?" And he was like, "Oh, that was Red Skull." I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be cool."
He just turned a
But
little
then,
purple.
no, it was not Red Skull at all. But Red Skull comes back, so that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, which goes into the scene that I didn't think would ever happen. It was the first moment of that movie where I was just like, oh man, where Thanos kills Gamora. I think she was going to be like one of the last Guardians of the Galaxy that would have died, and she turns out to be like the only one. I don't know, what did you think about that? Did you believe the kind of love Thanos had for Gamora?
I believed it. I mean, everybody loves someone, unless you're a sociopath, which he could have easily been.
Yeah.
But I guess not. I don't fucking know, man. Like, whenever someone dies in these movies, I'm just like, oh, sure. We saw Sebastian Stan fall down a hefty cliff, but nope, no dice. Still alive.
No, it
after
was
70 years.
It's the old Disney trick where if you just see them fall down a endless hole, they come back later.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm
I guess
tired of this death stuff.
Before that, we could talk a little bit about that flashback scene where Gamora's a little kid and Thanos comes to her planet and is killing people. That's really the first scene where it makes me believe in their relationship there, where he's kind of like that adds like a bunch of depth to Thanos, where he's kneels down on one knee and he hands her the sword and he's like, look away, as he's like killing freaking hundreds of people.
Yeah.
I really love that scene, and that's what made me buy when Thanos was looking at her and like grabbed her by the arm, and I was like, oh no, is this happening? At first I was like, man, it just has to be somebody that has to sacrifice something, so I thought they were gonna like go get Nebula and Gamora had to kill her or something like that.
Throw a Red Skull down there.
Yeah.
You lose, sir.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't ever expect Gamora to die.
It wasn't a character I was like really was thinking about either way. Like I was actually kind of surprised. Well, I mean, I guess, in hindsight, like, yeah, I should have known, since she was the daughter of Thanos, that she would probably have an important part to play, but I never really considered her like as having, I just never really thought of her as having a big part. So,
Yeah, then there was also that scene where Squidward dies, and there's that awesome alien reference there. Did you catch on to what they were going to do there when they were, where Spider-Man's just like, hey, have you seen this really old movie, Aliens?
Oh, yeah.
It goes into that.
I think, what was the moment? It was with that's probably just my favorite moment where, like, the joke and the whole thing was where because you have Peter Parker dropping all these movie references, and Stark's just like, "What do you?" Or whoever it was, just like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And then Star-Lord comes along, and they just have that instant connection.
You seen
and then-
Footloose?
and he's like, "Oh."
Yeah. Is Footloose still the greatest movie of all time? It never was. Yeah. Yeah. So old Squidward gets sucked out the spaceship there and dies.
I was actually like, I thought like the build up to that was really good with like the references and everything, but I was kind of sad to see him go. I wanted to see more Squidward.
Yeah. I wanted to see what would happen with him at that final Wakanda battle there.
I feel like Squidward could still be alive. Do you see him? Do you see him explode, or you just see him float away? Right?
That's when he reaches his hand out and does the Leia witch thing and comes back into
Exactly
the ship.
right. That's what should have happened. Then we could have had 2 big blockbusters within a year. Do the zero
Three.
gravity, zero atmosphere. What other movie did that happen
Guardians of
in?
the Galaxy.
No way.
I'm not going to spoil it for you, but
Oh
it's the
my
ending,
God.
okay?
Well, that's not like a huge movie.
It's
though.
emotional, okay? Guardians of the Galaxy is not a huge movie.
It's
okay.
not as big as Avengers or
It's close.
Yeah.
Last Jedi.
It's really close.
That was like, yeah, when Guardians came out, that surprised everybody. It blew out the projections they had for it.
All right.
That instantly became like the biggest of the Marvel audiences, like one of them. You have like the Avengers audience, and then second place very quickly became the Guardians of the Galaxy audience. But anyways, speaking of the Guardians of the Galaxy, that's when the Avengers meet them, or a chunk of the Avengers, like Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Iron Man meet them. They have that encounter where they both think they're against each other. They're all shooting at each other. There's a pretty cool scene there. And then they realize that they're on the same side, and that's kind of where it builds that second group of people, the half the Guardians and half the Avengers there. And that's where you kind of get that. That's what I was waiting for, that moment in the movie where we get that first kind of Tony Stark and Star-Lord going at each other, with Doctor Strange being a sarcastic asshole too. It's great. Yeah, I don't know what else more to say about this. I guess I'll just continue talking the most.
Sure.
Before we get into like the final act there, I would say this is, I don't know if this is my favorite scene of the movie, but it's definitely like the most emotional part for me. I don't know why this hit me so hard, because I didn't connect the dots there. But when Thor and Rocket are trying to get to that place to build his new axe or hammer or whatever that thing is, Stormbreaker, he's all talking to Rocket. Rocket's trying just to have a simple conversation with him, and he's like, my mom died in front of me, my sister died in front of me, my dad died in front of me, and my brother, my planet, all my people. And he's just like, what else do I have to lose? And I was like, oh man, that just like hit me instantly in the feels there.
What happened to Valkyrie? Doesn't he have her to lose?
She's on some escape pod with Korg being the third half of the Asgardian people he saved or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was really waiting for Tessa Thompson to show up in this movie, guys. I was like, where the hell is Tessa Thompson?
They're trying to keep the amount of characters under 100, so
I
cut
guess.
a couple.
Jesus, there's so many celebrities in this movie. It just keeps going and going.
I mean, it was kind of like an obvious joke, because it's been done to various degrees in the other Guardians movies, but just how Thor kept on referring to Rocket as
Rabbit. Yeah. Yeah, that got me every time. That was a cool recurring joke there.
What did you guys feel? So one thing that I felt was like really risky, that the filmmakers did, and kind of was like on the side of not taking itself too seriously, was Peter Dinklage as the dwarf giant.
Yeah, it was so cool to see Peter Dinklage that large.
Like from a conceptual like standpoint, like it's pretty funny. Like it's like, oh, let's take the smallest actor we can think of and turn him into the biggest character. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the problem I had was that every time you see him in a shot like by himself, there's no like really reference point of size, so he just looks like, I just see him as small Peter Dinklage after that. but those first couple of shots were so great. I really enjoyed that.
Like they kept that in the wraps, I think, pretty well. Like I had no idea it was coming. I completely
I didn't
forgot.
either.
I completely forgot that he was gonna be in it.
I'm pretty sure I like turned to Shane and I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah. I knew he was going to be in it, but everybody didn't know who he was going to be. I assumed he was going to be one of those children of Thanos voices, but it was kind of a big surprise to see him in there, even though to me that was kind of the weakest moment of the movie there. It was cool to go into like the mythology of Thor's hammer and also the gauntlet, because I was like, why the hell is there just a special gauntlet made to hold all these stones? But then they showed where that came from. But yeah, it's not that scene was like bad to me or anything, but I just don't know if I liked his accent he had, except for that one scene that was really good. He's like, where Thor's like, or they're like, if you do that, you're gonna die, and he's like, or you're gonna get killed, and he's like, not if I die, or something like that. And he's like, that's what it means to be killed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, do we have anything more else to say about that kind of scene before Thor makes his entrance?
I'm good.
Okay. I guess we'll just get right into that final act there, where we have kind of two big battles going on, the Wakanda battle and the Titan battle. Wakanda battle, of course, has a majority of the characters, and the Titan, they're all just trying to take out Thanos there. Not much to say about the Wakanda battle other than it was freaking amazing, like every second of it. Those crazy alien dog things were scary. I thought they were just going to be those stupid Chitauri alien things from the first Avengers movie, but they made an upgrade there.
That was like another thing that they had held back in the marketing, like that. Like when we see them come out, you know, on screen, that's the first time that we see them. So we're just as surprised as, you know, the characters we're rooting for. And they were imposed this, like how they were. I loved how they were just kind of like mindlessly throwing themselves at the barrier. It's just these like disposable, you know,
cutting
creatures.
themselves in half and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Reminded me a little bit of the zombies from World War Z. You know what I'm talking about?
Definitely.
Then it gets into Black Panther's decision just to open the barrier so that they don't surround him. That's where the big battle fight happens.
Yeah. Again, I felt because one of our criticisms with the Black Panther movie was like, I think it was maybe Preston that said it first, was like, the Black Panther character is kind of the most boring character out of the lot. But at the same time, he's the title character, so you think they would have done a little more with him. And he was kind of one of the characters, and not just him, but some of the other Wakandians, especially his sister, that kind of get lost in this massive shuffle of having all these characters and making sure, you know, they're all there.
Yeah.
Shuri, I think that's his sister's name, was pretty underused, but I'm glad they did have that one line there where she tells Bruce Banner that he's stupid. That was awesome.
Yeah.
But then like, I think for me, one of the highlights of the fight was when it was, see if I remember this correctly, it was who was his general, the chick,
Michonne.
Yeah, Michonne from The Walking Dead.
Danae Guerrera.
Yeah.
And teams up with Black Widow, and was it
Scarlet Witch, right?
Witch?
Yeah.
And they all help each other out and have kind of their moment to
Yeah. I loved her line, "What was she doing up there this whole time?" Yeah, you really had to see Scarlet Witch like unleash her, you know, power on these people, which I don't think we've really seen from her before. Like that was some seriously cool stuff.
And what's more great about that line is like I almost feel like it's the movie kind of poking fun of it at itself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, wait, was she that whole time? Oh, we just need to save her for a big dramatic moment.
Yeah. One other thing though about the Black Panther deal was that I kept wishing that Killmonger could come in here and do something. I had to like keep reminding myself that he was dead. Like I just kept waiting for him to come in and like start fucking people up. Like I don't know. I miss that character so much. I wish they had kept him around. Obviously it's pretty much impossible to do, but
yeah.
God, Michael B. Jordan was so good in that role.
So then, should we just get into the Thor entrance there? Where Thor
Yeah.
makes his grand
That
entrance
was
to Wakanda.
That was probably the biggest cheer of the whole
Ours too.
Yeah.
thing.
There's-
Would you guys say that Thor is like the main character of this movie?
No.
No, Thanos is definitely the main character.
Really?
Yeah. He has the most screen time. This movie's about Thanos. He pretty much just walks from start to finish without even stopping, getting all the stones, and then snapping his finger.
Yeah,
He has the most depth, everything, really.
that is true.
I was actually, I mean, like I said, I was kind of surprised how focused on Doctor Strange the plot was. But same again with Thor. Like it was pretty much the Thor, Doctor Strange, and Tony Stark show as far as the main characters go. Tony Stark was a given.
Yeah,
the
I
other-
was surprised how little Captain America did in this.
Yeah. That was another one that was a little underutilized, but they'll probably make up for it in the next one, I would hope.
Yeah, I was going to get into that a little bit more towards the end.
And Bucky, I thought was like they kind of hyped up his return, especially at the end of
Black Panther,
Black
yeah.
Panther. But then he's probably got the least screen time out of kind of all the kind of side returning characters.
Yeah. And again, it felt like Black Panther wasn't really, very important either.
Yeah.
I was hoping to at least see once where his suit, blasts people away or something. Didn't happen. Thought that was kind of
He did
strange
that.
to be overlooked. He did?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Quite
must
a
have
few
missed it.
times when he was like getting surrounded by them, he would release that explosion
Okay,
thing.
good. I had sensory overload and I couldn't process everything. There's so much going on.
Yeah. So Thor makes his entrance. Our audience went freaking crazy, which I thought would have been the perfect moment for them to blast that song from Thor Ragnarok there. But I guess the
Immigrant song?
the immigrant song, that would have been so
Great
great.
song.
But the Avengers theme blast in full was pretty cool too. And then he just goes in and freaking destroys everything. I was kind of blown away by how strong they made Thor there. But it was awesome. That was some of the coolest things.
I was gonna say, like, how do you think the action in this compared to like the action in some of the other Marvel films? Like for me personally, I feel like more often than not, the action is kind of generic in a lot of the Marvel films.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I don't know if there's anything that wasn't like super just like that stood out that was just like, oh my gosh, that was amazing type of action sequence. But it was just, I think, just put together so well, especially like with the fight in Wakanda. You've got these like 28 days later type zombie alien creatures that just kind of like heightens the I don't know what the word is I'm looking for.
Stakes.
Not necessarily stakes, but just like it really boosts up the adrenaline because it's just so fast.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can follow it along pretty well. And then they drop in little character moments, like I mentioned with the girls teaming up, and then you had that moment when Bucky picks up Rocket,
Yeah.
and they're spinning around. So again, you have the Thor's entrance, and so it does, and so it's cool because it does give everybody like one little moment to shine as well. And just when you have that many pieces coming together on that big of an epic scale, and you're cross-cutting to another thing, it's just that sense of urgency, and then just how fast everything is, I think, really makes it kind of a step above what we've seen in a lot of the other movies.
I totally agree. I thought the action here was incredibly on point.
Yeah. Especially all the scenes where they team up. It's like 3 of them going on one person or something like that. Which I guess gets into the best of those, which I think is when they're the Guardians and Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and they were all fighting Thanos there on Titan. I loved how they like brought all those characters together, and they all had like they all had a part to play in taking down Thanos and trying to get the gauntlet off of him. It was just cutting back and forth between all the different characters, and they were all doing something. It was crazy. Doctor Strange was making like portals and stuff and shooting people out. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, that was kind of one of my, as far as like just visual things. Just like, was it Star Lord, or were they all kind of jumping in and out of the portals?
Yeah.
All I remember is Star Lord jumping backwards and flipping them off.
Yeah. Yeah. And Spider-Man was doing like the portal kick, portal punch, portal jump. Yeah. It's awesome. That was, I think, my favorite action sequence there is when they're all fighting Thanos. Because, I mean, I was like, how the hell are they even going to stand against Thanos? But they all did a pretty good job if it wasn't for Star-Lord.
He did get, who was it? It was Gamora that stabbed Thanos.
Yeah, but that was just
That was
part of the reality
earlier.
thing. That wouldn't have happened if
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
the like fake reality situation there.
But didn't he get injured another time, kind of? Or not?
No, I mean, it was that scene where he dropped his first thing of blood. He's like, all of that for a drop of blood. So he didn't really get touched. I mean, he did from Hulk at the beginning, just because that was a surprise. But other than that, not really.
Yeah.
What do you make of the, this kind of precedes the fight a little bit. Do you think there's something more going on with Doctor Strange and his, like, when he, like, looked into the future and saw all the possibilities and that he had to save Tony? Do you think there's something more going on there? Kind of like Doctor Strange knew something that nobody else knew? Is like the only, like, Tony Stark alive is the only scenario where they win.
Yeah, Tony Stark alive and him given the time stone.
How does he know Tony Stark would stay alive? Wasn't it like a 50-50 thing? Random?
Well, I mean, he lived through that kind of situation. It was like, what,
Right, but how did he...
1.4 billion or million options and only one of them worked? And I'm guessing what's going to come is when Doctor Strange comes back, he's going to be like, Tony had to live and I had to give him the stone for us to get on track. Because that kind of goes into Doctor Strange's last line where he's like, this had to happen.
I'm not sure these screenwriters understand how probability works, but whatever.
Yeah. Oh.
Should mail them a letter.
I should.
Just be like, I think you guys need to hire better consultants.
Who's your math guy?
Oh,
I
man.
need to talk to him.
Also, that awesome scene where Doctor Strange goes into like 50 Doctor Stranges. I
Yeah,
thought
that got,
really
that
Oh,
got
yeah.
another reaction out of
Yeah.
everyone.
Because that's kind of the Doctor Strange stuff I've been waiting to see from the comics and all of that. That was like the real first big thing. I was like, oh man, that's amazing. And then we get into the scene where Star-Lord ruins everything. You guys want
Come
to talk
on,
about
Star-Lord.
that? He's the reason why half of everybody died.
I know. Couldn't have, if Doctor Strange could have seen the future, couldn't he have just like thrown Star-Lord into a portal like away from
Yeah.
everything? Because they were like, the way that it was, they filmed it, like
Yeah.
they almost had it.
Well, I kind of anticipated or thought that the whole thing is like Doctor Strange knows exactly what's happening and like he has to make it so that Thanos does get the thing, but he just like, told them, well, let's do this or whatever, and so they wouldn't think they were just kind of giving up. But like he knows that we've got to lose this point at this point so we can win later, bigger, like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, if Star-Lord wasn't a part of that equation, they would have got the gauntlet off and he would have just stole it right back. So, I don't know. He's insanely strong without the gauntlet. But they made it seem like it was all Star-Lord's fault. Then, I don't know, anything else we have to say about that Titan battle?
I don't know. It was pretty epic. For a final showdown, it definitely worked.
All right, so then we get to the heartbreaking last 10 minutes of the movie or so. Man, that scene where Thanos comes into Wakanda, I just thought it was like, I don't know, it just, you kind of felt like there was nothing the Avengers could do at that point because they were all running at him and he was just like effortlessly throwing them. And Scarlet Witch is over there trying to figure out if she wants to kill her love or not. And it goes in that cool scene where she's like single-handedly trying to destroy the scene or the stone and take on Thanos at the same time, which kind of shows how strong she is.
That was, I guess, that was kind of one. Like, I get it from a character standpoint, like that's strong, but I thought that was kind of one of the minor flaws with the film was like, you don't really know much about Scarlet Witch's powers, but it just conveniently has the power to destroy an Infinity Stone. Like that was when I was like, well, that's awfully convenient for the plot.
You guys probably don't know, but she's one of the strongest Marvel characters. So,
yeah, I think it kind of like, sets it up where you see that giant. There's that scene where she comes down and like kind of saves them a little bit earlier with that great line from Michonne.
Yeah,
and kind of lets you know, like, holy shit, this woman can do some shit.
Yeah. And then she destroys the stone. Man, that scene, I was like, oh man, they did it. They won. And I actually like remember taking like a breath of there. I was like, man, I need a break. I was like, God damn. I like took a breath, and then he just walks up and uses the time stone to like bring Vision back to life. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, when there's that moment where because they mentioned it twice. Like they used like the specific words, like all you would have to do, or all I would have to do was snap my fingers and then this would happen. I know they mentioned it at least twice leading up to that moment. And so when he does that and then just kind of, he disappears and everyone's just like, it's just like dead silence. And you just like, it's just, again, just like a dread, like, oh no, like what just happened. And then that gets us into like the most shocking part of the film is that like Thanos won and the good guys lost.
Yeah. Well, even like a little before that, where Thor comes out of nowhere and chucks the axe at him. Did you think they killed Thanos there for a second?
I thought like it would impair Thanos from. Oh, that was what I was trying to remember earlier about the other time Thanos got injured.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't think he was dead, or gonna be dead, but I thought that might force a retreat or something.
Yeah. Well, I was just kind of like, whoa. It made me believe it for a second. I was like, what the hell are they going to do for the fourth Avengers movie? They just killed Thanos right here. Then he just like, he should have aimed for the head and disappears. And yeah, that moment where everybody just starts disappearing, which I was believing when they killed Bucky, but they did it in the wrong order because they killed Black Panther second. And then
once I saw Black Panther die, I was like, well, this doesn't mean a damn thing.
When I got to Spider-Man, that's when I was like, okay, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, because before that I was just like horrified, like, oh my God, like, is this their red wedding? Like, like, are they just, did they actually like go for it and do all this? Because I'm thinking there's like hundreds of.
Could you imagine if they didn't tell Sony?
Yeah.
There's hundreds of characters that they can, pull from and that they're gonna introduce. We know there's gonna be a second wave of characters they're gonna introduce, and so it's like, well, maybe this is how they start over.
Well, yeah, I mean, they should have done Bucky. And then like Groot, Black Widow, Doctor Strange. And I would have believed it all the way through that point, even though I would have been blown away by Doctor Strange. And then they should have done like the hard hitters like Black Panther, Spider-Man, Star-Lord. Once they killed that's just, I didn't believe it the second they killed Black Panther. Then they ended up going straight to like Star-Lord and stuff like that.
Pretty much every one of the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Is there anyone left alive? Rocket, maybe?
Rocket's the only one. Yeah. And Nebula.
Gotcha.
But even regardless of we knowing that they're not going to die, actually, that Spider-Man scene was heartbreaking too.
I know. That was like the hardest part for me, where he's like, I don't want to die.
Some little kid here is like, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark. I was like, oh my God.
I think that's gonna be a big part of. I don't know if that car alarm is being picked up on.
Oh, it is.
Good.
But there's a car alarm. One of our cars is getting broken into, guys.
Maybe everybody's disappearing.
But we're dedicated to this podcast, and we're not gonna go investigate. But
That's your car getting stolen right now, but we've got to finish.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how the death of Peter Parker is going to motivate or unmotivate Tony Stark, because I think that's kind of probably one of the main reasons that they did it, was to push his character into a certain direction.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
And also, who we didn't see, like, die, is Pepper Potts still alive? Like, who knows who's dead
Yeah.
that we haven't seen?
That's where I think, like, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, if, like, during their final battle, just, like, Ant-Man disappears or something, I think that'd be amazing, but I doubt they'll do that. Anyways, I think that scene kind of sets up a lot what will happen in the next movie there, because they left all the 4 original Avengers alive, Bruce Banner, Thor, Captain America, and Tony Stark. So I really think the next movie, where like this movie was Thanos' movie, the next movie is going to be like the original Avengers movie, where they're all going to come together and have their kind of like movie where they shine brightest and then pass on the torch to the next Avengers. That's just a theory of mine.
Yeah, well, there's that post-credit scene that not so subtly indicated what we have in store for us next.
What do you mean? What did that end credit scene mean? I didn't know.
I was surprised there was only one post-credit scene, too. Usually there's one after the main title cards.
That really got the audience in my theater.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just like, this movie's so dark, we don't even give you an end credit scene.
and there was a pause,
first
too.
one.
Like they knew everyone was ready for it.
Yeah.
And then...
Oh, yeah, then it showed the Infinity War with like the sad Avengers music. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I think if it wasn't for that post-credit scene, a lot of people would have been messed up by that movie. Like, it ended on such a downer, and then the post-credit scene was kind of like picking everybody back up.
Yeah.
How fucking funny would it be if, like, Captain Marvel also has died in the...
Yeah.
She's also turned to dust, and Captain Marvel ends with her, like, texting someone else.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta forward this. I'm disappearing, too.
Shows Captain Marvel's base, and she's just like a pile of dust on the floor, and her pager's going off.
She calls Han Solo or something. Oh, he's dead. Some Star Wars character comes in and saves everybody. Rey, you're our last hope.
Yeah, so... Oh, and Nick Fury got almost his signature phrase there.
Yeah.
Almost. I thought that was funny. So yeah,
Is this the first time we've seen Nick Fury come back since
Age of
Winter
Ultron.
Soldier?
He was in Age of Ultron. He came and he brought like the helicarrier back and took everybody off of Sokovia as it was like flying up in the sky. He made like his return there, but we haven't seen him since then.
That was before Winter Soldier, wasn't it?
No. Age of Ultron was right before Ant-Man and Civil War.
Okay.
We're going to have to do another Marvel history lesson here. Okay.
Yeah, I trust you more
If
than
we
I
were
trust
professionals, we all would have like watched all the movies leading up to this.
If we had fucking 40
Well,
hours.
I did,
And
okay,
that way-
so...
And that way, people like Preston and myself wouldn't be getting all confused with who's in what movie and
Hey,
what.
no need to fear. A nerd is here to help you out.
Doctor Strange is in Thor Ragnarok. Who knew?
Yeah. Oh, man. So, yeah, I mean, that's the movie.
That wraps up our
spoiler talk.
discussion.
Anything else you want to say about anything? Some final things? I don't know. What was your favorite scene of the movie?
My favorite scene?
Yeah. Let me just throw you off right here. Well, you guys are thinking. My single favorite scene is when, like I kind of said, when they're all taking on Thanos on Titan there, and then all the way up until where Mantis like jumps on Thanos' head and puts him to sleep. That whole sequence there was awesome to me.
I'd say the moment that stuck with me the most was when Spider-Man died.
Yeah.
Like, that's really stuck with me more than I thought it would.
Yeah. Did you hear all those theories of how Spider-Man has like his spidey senses, so he probably like felt everybody freaking dying and he was the only one panicking there, and then he knew he was going to die? there was that theory. That's
makes
people
sense.
been talking about lately, which that's even more heartbreaking.
Trying to think. I remember like I think kind of the first moment I've really felt like thrilled by the movie was when they had the fight in Manhattan with Squidward. I just remember it as being, very well choreographed, and just kind of that, like I mentioned before, that kind of impending sense of dread in the background of something really big and bad that was gonna happen. But then again, at the end, just how shocking and unexpected the post snapping of the fingers was, and just kind of how sobering that was. I'd have to say was probably the standout moment of the film.
Yes. So how far do you think we're going to get into Avengers 4 before everybody comes back from that dusting? Like, do you think they'll come back right at the beginning, or do you think it's going to be like a final act, everybody comes back to kill Thanos thing?
I think it'll definitely be a final act. Because implied, I don't know, I would think when you've got an ace up your sleeve like Brie Larson, it's like you're going to want to utilize her as much as possible.
Oh, yeah. They also have to clear out some characters so they could add Ant-Man and Hawkeye and all those other people.
So I would, if I was just to guess, just instinctively, but then again, if so many people were wrong about this movie, that kind of the first half of the next Avengers movie is going to be her helping them try to find a way to bring everyone back. Or that could be the very last thing, is that's the final victory, that they are able to bring everybody back.
Well, I kind of look forward to the whole setup of the next movie, because some time is going to have passed, and you're going to have to see what life has become with half of the world's population gone. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show Life After People, where they talk about what hypothetically would happen to the world's infrastructure if everybody just disappeared. Mm-hmm. Well, now it's going to be like half of that.
Yeah.
Life after half of the people.
Well, that was like my next question. Do you think Avengers 4 is going to be like 2 years in the future or whatever? Or do you think it's going to take place like right after Avengers 3?
Maybe like a year or so.
I would say...
I could see it being right after, though.
Yeah, I would think that they'd try to pick it up right after.
Because like in the comics, Nebula she gets the gauntlet and brings everybody back, but she, by rewinding time 15 minutes, so it was like 15 minutes, which would make me think it happened right after. But it would be cool to see like a post-apocalyptic Earth where half of everybody's gone and life's just moved on. Everybody's mourned and changed from it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see some of the missing characters in the next one, like Hawkeye?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Ant-Man, Wasp. That's pretty much it, really.
Valkyrie.
Oh yeah, Valkyrie.
Oh, please bring back Valkyrie.
Do you think we'll see Korg, Taika Waititi's rock monster character?
We can keep our fingers crossed.
Fan favorite. Just he's the one that kills Thanos. He said, "This is the revolution."
All right, is that going to do it for this podcast, guys?
I guess. Did we cover everything?
Probably
Most of
not.
everything.
That movie was stuffed full.
Yeah,
that's true. It's probably a lot we missed, but
yeah, 2.5 hours worth of Marvel.
Oh, how'd you guys feel about the runtime? I wasn't like 2.5 hours. Most people would be like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, that's a lot of movie.
It was even more than 2.5, right? Wasn't it closer to 3?
Maybe. I don't know.
It was long. But
yeah.
The point I'm making is that, like, I didn't feel the length at all.
Yeah.
Like, when it ended, like, I was totally okay with it going on for another 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, I haven't really...
Oh, no, you're right, 2.5.
I think it was, like, not since The Force Awakens where I was really like, man, I just don't want this movie to end.
Yeah, I would have been fine with another 30 minutes, honestly.
Yeah.
If it had maintained its pacing.
Yeah, even Black Panther is over a little 2 hours, and I just saw that recently, and I don't know. that movie didn't hold up for me. I was just like super bored throughout. I was like, man, this movie drags. But the second time I saw Infinity War, it went just as quick. So
Yeah. All right. Until next time, this has been In the Picture. I'm Preston Fossback.
I'm Shane Awesome Jones.
I am Miles Cardan.
And if you'd like to get in touch with us before, well, anytime really, you can tweet at us at AskInThePicture. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/InThePicture. Find us on iTunes by searching In the Picture. And
I think In the Picture podcast on iTunes. That's where I could find it every time. Sometimes I have troubles finding out In the Picture. So just type in the Picture podcast on iTunes.
yeah,
And you should get to us right away.
definitely search in the podcast category. We are not an album.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we won't drop one. But
True.
just
I
haven't
have been working on my rhymes.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Next week, or I guess kind of later this week, are we reviewing something? What are we reviewing?
Probably not until Deadpool, huh?
Nothing until Deadpool?
I don't think there's anything this week.
Ugh.
And then the following week's Deadpool, huh?
Deadpool's the week after this week?
Maybe, yeah, I think so. Because there's nothing this week. I don't know. Anything's crazy to go around Infinity War. So I think Deadpool's even a little too close. It's kind of the same audience there.
I don't know. Next week will be the little little Gus Van Sant indie movies that you like, Preston.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the kind of movies that are going to be coming out next week. So
Is that movie coming
I
out
have
next
no
week?
idea. I was thinking
I think it is supposed to
'cause
come out
there's
soon.
there's no blockbuster that's gonna want to come anywhere near this movie. So it's
Yeah.
just all gonna be like little independent stuff.
Okay, Deadpool May 17th. So I think 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks, okay. Then Han Solo's right after that. May's a busy month.
Hey guys, you wanna? I've got time to kill. You guys want to talk some more about Solo?
Yeah.
We don't have that much time
I ain't
to
looking
kill.
to get triggered here, okay?
Did you see the new TV or the featurette that they did?
No.
Showed a lot more footage.
Yeah, I heard.
Some
That's
of it-
why I'm staying away from
Some
it.
of it looks really cool, and some of it I'm like, uh-oh, this guy isn't Han Solo.
But is
We'll
Chewie
see.
gonna die at the end?
Yeah, we saw the new teaser before Infinity War, and there's that shot at the end where Chewie's like, they're on some kind of train or something, and his head sticking out, and there's like a part of a rock is coming towards him, and I was just like, Shane, what if Chewbacca dies? Who knows what's gonna happen?
See how
in
easy
this
it was for me to
prequel?
get you guys to start talking about it?
Yeah, yeah.
How fucking funny would it be if we find out that like the Chewie in the Solo movie is like Chewbacca's twin, and like he
Well,
dies,
that's kind of the theory going on
and
here.
then he gets up with another Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Or what if the Han Solo that we see in the trailers isn't actually Han Solo?
He's not, so
What
theory
if,
confirmed.
What if Han Solo from the original trilogy just like assumes his identity?
That would be great. I would love that. Oh,
thanks.
this
thanks.
this whole movie was a joke.
Come on.
All right.
Ewan McGregor was Allen Guinness. Okay, get out of here. It's happened before.
Alec
Guinness. Sorry.
Yeah. All
Ooh,
right.
Have you guys ever seen the Lady Killers with Alec Guinness?
Yes,
Yo,
I have. I have it on Blu-ray. You
Really?
believe it? It's at my mom's house.
No way.
She asked me to buy it for her. It's like it's not a good movie.
What?
It doesn't hold up, man.
It doesn't hold up. I watched it like a year ago, and I think it's hysterical.
Okay.
Are you guys still listening? Did you click off when we?
Hopefully, Miles has edited all this out.
We'll let Shane be the tiebreaker because Alec Guinness is like unlike you've seen him like ever before.
Yeah,
in this
he
movie.
he loses
mean?
his mind. He
doesn't have a lightsaber?
The Lady Killers. No, this is Alec Guinness pre-lightsaber.
Ah, dang it.
Would have been a very different film with it.
I'll be honest. When we first started talking about Avengers Infinity War, I didn't think we were gonna end talking about the Lady Killers.
You're the one who brought it up, man. Of course you knew that.
Oh man.
Well, I didn't know it until you started talking about Alec Guinness, and that's just like
Sure. This was a conspiracy.
when
I can
someone
tell.
like apart from was it Bridge on the River Kwai, like that's the only other Alec Guinness movie I can think of
Yeah.
I don't know.
just off
Well,
the top of my head.
Preston, could you tell us your views on Sunshine?
Shane,
This is
I'm
the
glad
podcast
you asked.
that never ends.
I forgot
It goes
to
on and
I forgot to bring
on,
up
my
Sunshine
friend.
last time. and a few other times.
Shane Miles and
Sunshine.
Preston starred at talking.
Sunshine is one of the greatest films ever made. It's a triumph of modern cinema.
Oh
It's
my god.
and no one saw it, which
I
is
think-
terrible.
I think we're just gonna have to. We can keep talking, but I think at this point I'm just gonna fade it out.
All right, I guess the listener will find out what exactly happened. I said let's not do this for an hour, but we've basically done an hour at this point
Nice.
of just spoilers. We're definitely over an hour altogether. Let's call it here. Great podcast, guys. We will see you in approximately 1.5 to 2 weeks for a Deadpool review. Deadpool 2, I should say. And until then, keep it rocking.
Adios.
Tschüss.